got 25 minutes. We gotta go.
Hey, what is going on, Say That Nation? Welcome into another amazing episode of the Say That Show. Guys, if this is your first time checking us out, and I say us because ordinarily there'd be my amazing partner, Janelle V, that would be with us, and you're definitely going to be in for a treat today. So, guys, if this is going to be your first time seeing us, let me get that one. You could drop a one in the chat. If you're a regular, let me get some of that fire emoji. And guys, if you are brand new, the way our amazing show works is you've all heard of the ugly come up, when people come from the bottom and rise to amazing success, but you're not always sure what happens in the middle of their story. And what we'd love to do here and say that is we are unapologetic about that story and hearing about what people go through. And today we have an amazing guest who's going to be sharing with us a little bit about her journey. And just so you guys are familiar, we normally would go through a topic or a question of the day. And today's question, let me bring that up. I'm doing my drum roll. All right, guys. So today's question is, I wrote a book and now what? And I have the esteemed privilege to reintroduce you guys to someone who you're very familiar with, but she's been a friend of mine for, I want to say, almost 8 years now, business partner, just someone that I could definitely always go to. And she has added another hat to our entrepreneurial journey. And over this past year in 2022, dropped a brand new book, which she's launched. I know she's done a few podcasts and discussions on already. But today I'm here live at Columbia University, where she's going to be launching or doing a book launch tour and actually sitting down at the Columbia campus and discussing her brand new book. And so I could think of nobody better to tackle this question with me today and answer the question of what to do after you've written a book than the incomparable Janelle V.
Our next guest.
And there she is. All right, make sure you're not muted, Jay, and welcome into the show officially, as you're still muted. There it is. You don't know how to unmute yourself. Look at that. She's now an author and doesn't know how to unmute her own mic anymore. There it is. There we go.
Okay. I'm happy to be in this place and space to be able to share what I've learned about writing a book and what happens next. So this is exciting.
Very, very cool. Okay, so before we jump into it and you tell us about what that story and journey has been like, I would first love to share just a little snippet of the last time you were on, when I think the book was officially dropping, maybe even the next day, and just a little bit about what you had to say about it.
Shame, there it is. Around. I slept with a married man, and am I still a good person? And so this particular book is about my story and dealing with that. So how did I get to that place? What were the shame-based thoughts that got me to that position? And then the shame spiral that caused. So poor decisions, isolation, just like self-sabotage in a way that I think people can really relate to when you're feeling shame. And just to remind everyone, if you haven't seen any of the other episodes where we talked about this, the difference between shame and guilt. Guilt is I did something bad. Shame is I am bad. And so when you're thinking I am bad, I am not worthy, I am not deserving, I'm unlovable, I'm not beautiful.
Yeah. We definitely went in on the last episode, and don't worry, guys, we're going to make sure that we tag the last episode that Janelle was on, that she discussed the book, so you guys can check it out here. But today that we have you on, the book has been out now for a few months. There it is. And we're here, like I said, we're live at Columbia right now, and you're going to be doing your book. I don't know, is it? I know it's a tour as a whole, but the specific talk that you're doing today, it's going to be like a Q&A, I think you were describing.
Yeah, it's a Q&A.
Okay,
So it's the
perfect.
book tour launch because the book has
Okay,
already been launched. It's the tour that's launching. So I'm
and that's what
excited
we're doing today.
because this is one of the things that we're going to talk about, the now what, right? Like, what do you do after your book comes out? Um, uh, sorry, I just want to give a shout out
No,
because
go for it.
I had my makeup done for today, and my makeup artist is actually on right now. So I just want to give a huge shout out to Janelle. She's amazing. I can't wait to tell so many people about the amazing work that you do. It's amazing.
Janae, drop that social media in the comments so we could throw you
Yeah,
up,
put it in the comments so that way people can see.
or your email. However, people get in contact with you, I would definitely love to promote you and make sure that we get that out there. All right. So as she puts her information in the comments, we'll wait for that. So Janelle, talk to us about what the process of even writing the book. Again, I know we're past that stage now, but just for anybody who may be thinking or considering what that even looks like, and then we can jump into a little bit of after you've written the book, what that process. There's Janae. Let's get that up first.
Yes,
Shout
there
outs
it
to Janae,
is.
the
Awesome.
Chic Studio
So
NYC. Thank you, Janelle. Go for it,
yes.
Janelle.
Okay, so for me, it started with what do you want to say, right? Like, what do you want to get out there? What do you want to be? What story do you want to tell? Is
Okay.
it yours or is it fictional, right? Like, or somebody else's? Sometimes you write a biography about somebody else's life. So I guess it's the first place to start. What do you want to do? I recently was talking with a young woman who really wants to write science fiction, and we had an awesome conversation about what that was like for her process. And so for
Okay.
me, it is my story. It is, a telling of a period of my life. And so once I knew that and I wanted to put it on paper, then it's just the writing of it. And that's the hardest part. The hardest part is like putting your thoughts, memories,
Mm-hmm.
ideas onto paper. And I would say for those that are like, I've seen so many workshops. It's like, oh, workshop for those who are writing and having writer's block and all of these things. I would say my biggest advice for someone who's like at that very first stage is set either a time or a page limit, but do it every single day. So for me, it was in the middle of COVID. I set up a half an hour a day. Half an hour a
Okay.
day, I'm gonna spend writing. And I just stuck to that. And sometimes the hardest part is starting, right? So then once you
Mm-hmm.
start though, you get so excited about what you're writing about. The next thing you know, it's like, oh man, it's been an hour or it's been 45 minutes. Like I gotta go on to the next task. But I made sure that every single day I at least wrote for a half an hour. Um, and so that's what I would say. So for some people, they may say, I'm just going to write a page a day. For other people, it may be like, I'm going to write 5 pages or 10 pages, whatever it is, whatever your process is. But I would just say stick to consistently writing every day until it's done. I'm also really blessed because I have amazing people in my life who wanted to be editors of the book. I feel like once now it's out, right? Then it's out from your brain onto paper. Then you have to think like, well, does it make sense? So you want an editor who is able to look at it for content. Like, does the content make sense? Does more information or context need to be given about one idea or another? And so Winston, shout out to Winston, who was my content editor. That was huge. It played such a huge role. And then you want someone who also is grammatically looking at it, right? So you want to make sure the grammar is correct. So you just want to make sure you have editors who cover all of those things. I was very fortunate. My mother was the grammar editor, and then my godmother, who's also an author herself. Shout out to Margaret Tarano, or Aunt Peggy, as I call her. She read for both. She read for content and for grammar. And so I was really fortunate to have those people in my life. And not everybody is, but I would recommend that when you start thinking about who you want to edit, it's not just grammar, right? You also want to
Yeah.
make sure you have somebody who's there to help you with the content, to make sure that things make sense. And or more something needs to be explored more or less or what have you. So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
that. And then after the editing phase, then you have it. And now I think this is the part that is probably the most mysterious. How do you get it published?
Published.
How do
Yeah.
you get it
Good.
available on Amazon? How do you get it available on Barnes and Noble, iBooks, right? Like, how does that become a thing? I definitely did YouTube University with a lot of this, but I can't wait to help people with this process. So we're gonna be creating, or we have created, I should say this, we've created Say That Publishing, so to help future authors who want to do this process. But the there's there's like an actual system in place to get your book to be considered a #1 bestseller on Amazon. There's like actually a way that you can do it. I invested in a lot of those tools. I learned like how do you get it on, like what are all the different things. I also have some other friends. Shout out to Rochelle Pauling. Everybody remembers Rochelle. She did a show with us where she talked about how can you make money from your nonprofit
Non-for-profit,
business.
yeah.
Yeah, that's an amazing show, one of our highest watch shows. And so if you're out there thinking about doing nonprofit, you definitely want to go back and look at one of those. But she's also a self-published author, and so she gave me a lot of recommendation. I happen to use Ingram Spark. I didn't go directly through Amazon to publish.
Mm-hmm.
You can, and there are pros and cons to that, and that's for another show and another conversation. But just know that there are different means with which you can publish. I used Ingram Spark, and it's really user friendly. Both Amazon and Ingram Spark are user friendly in that like you can create a cover, and like they have all
Yeah,
these
it definitely walks you through all the things that you would need.
exactly templates
Cool.
and all of that, and then you put it in, and then they send you a draft. Like, does this look good? So you know what's really interesting, when you have it in a Word document and you look at it, you don't think like, is chapter 4 going to start on the right side of the page or the left side of the page? Do you want a page in between, or is it okay if it starts like right after? I don't know, like
Really
it's
good
these
point.
little things that I didn't even think of, that I think are important for that process. And then it's out there, and then it's out there in the world. And the next part is just to massively try and get your story out there. So what is your goal? I sat down with someone recently who asked me that, and I thought, you know, it's so funny. I think 3 or 4 months ago, I don't know if I would have had a goal. The goal was just to get the book out. I was like, I did it. I reached a goal. I published. But the goal now is I want to use my book, and everyone has a different purpose, but I want to use my book as to open the conversation about shame. So people can hire me to do workshops, to do coaching, to help them through shame, to get towards resilience, to live a life more in their authentic self, right? And enjoying that and basking in that. And so I know I can successfully lead those workshops, and I just did recently, this past weekend. Shout out to Kathy who led that amazing manifestation workshop. And the other goal is to be a best-selling author. To be a best-selling author, not necessarily New York Times. New York Times has multiple things that are necessary, but no matter where, doesn't matter whose list, in order to just get the title of best-selling author, you need to sell 10,000 books. And I didn't know that. I had to be told that, or someone had to say it somewhere on a YouTube, or someone educated me on that. And so those are the 2 goals. Use this as a way to help with my workshops, that part, that's this new business that I'm embarking on, and also to be a best-selling author, to like actually do it. And so then the next question is, now what? How do you do that?
Well, hold on. So before we go to that, because then there's certain things you mentioned already, that you mentioned you spoke to a young lady who's looking to do something in science fiction. So I'd imagine in some instances, somebody putting out a book, the goals that you come out with may not be the same. Like there may not be workshops that this woman is obviously offering at the end of the day, similar, you know, how you are doing that. So I want to kind of get into the decision making or how that came about, because you obviously could have just written the book, decided that you wanted to be a bestseller and any of those things, and not have workshops attached to this, right? So how did that evolve? How did this turn into I want to put this out there so people hear my story and are helped, to I want to practically go out now and host spaces or create spaces that people can be helped with the knowledge I now have from writing this book?
To be honest, that was a goal for probably from the very beginning.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I don't know if
So was the goal always to workshop, or the book
yeah,
came
it was
first?
it was to share my story so that way people can learn how to do it too. I don't know if I had the language to say I will do a workshop or I will coach somebody through this. I didn't have words for that, but I knew I wanted to lead people through that process by sharing them my process. And if the only way they could get access to me was just to read the book, then at least I've given some tools in the book. But it was always, I didn't know how, but I was just thinking, and then there's going to be some way where I work with people directly. And I just wasn't sure what that was going to look like. I have the words now for it, but yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So then we're at that point now. The book is out, and before we get to again, now there's an actual book launch. What was the process of the book being out and you doing interviews? What was that like?
Well, that was my next thing that I was going to say.
Oh,
So,
okay, go
how
for
do
it.
you get people to read your book? Well, first of all, you're going to reach out to every single person you know. Make sure that they know that you have a book, and tell them, and say like, it would mean a lot to me if you could purchase the book. I mean, your closest friends and family are going to do that anyway because they're like, "Oh my God, you wrote a book, right?"
Yeah.
And then I would also say it was really important to keep people in the loop along the process. So I used to like randomly take photos. So my writing process was between 5 and 6:30 in the morning. So I would get up and write. And that's just because I have so many other things to do the rest of the day. The only time I could fit it in was before everything else.
Okay.
Um, so I would randomly take a picture at like dawn of me at the laptop, like writing, and just share with people, like, yep, this is me. I'm writing a book, you know. And as I got closer to the date that I knew it was going to launch, it was like, it's coming out this summer, or, you know, whenever the date is, it's coming out in 3 months, 4 months, kind of do like a countdown even. It was really important on social media anyway to keep people clued in. And so that way, when it did launch, it was like, hey, it's here. I'm an author. And the amount of response I got on social media, oh my God, Janelle, this is amazing. Because they remembered. They remembered when I was sharing those random videos or
Breadcrumbing. For anyone
pictures or
looking at the
whatever.
term, yeah, breadcrumbing. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then we're at that point now. The book is out. People know about it. We're interviewing.
Yeah.
Is
So
that?
that's the
Do you
next
think
thing. I
your
have to say
network
that,
made a big difference in
yeah,
that,
the
or
interviews were
yeah? Go ahead.
strictly through networking. I
Okay.
just spoke to as many friends as possible. And I was like, if I could like get anything right now, it would be, who do you know who has a podcast? Who do you know who has a radio show? Who do you know? I would love to be on their show and talk about my book, and my book is about this. And so I was invited on to talk on 2 podcasts and 1 radio show so far. And I know that there are several more coming this year, and I'm
Yep.
really excited about that. So I know that many people use that as like the only thing that they do. That's it. Like, all we're doing is podcasts, radio shows, that kind of a thing. Because you're just trying to like get to a wider audience, right? Just try to get
Hmm.
people to know about you. And I would, one of the, some advice that I got that I thought was really good is, when you do go on these podcasts and radio stations and get interviewed, it would be most important if you could give them like a sneak peek of your book, so a couple of chapters, and then it leads to a link, a QR code, or an actual hyperlink, whatever, that sends them to write a review. Writing a
Uh,
review on Amazon, Kindle, whatever, Barnes Nobles, wherever it's being sold, is really important, because then it increases the likelihood that that site will then continue to like put your
up.
book in front of people's
Mhm.
eyes who've never even heard you, have never even seen an interview with you. Um, and then in that case, it's helpful to have a catchy title. But I thought that was really good advice, and I took that on. So whoever gets like a freebie is immediately linked to being able, because all you need to do is read 1/4 of the book in order to be able to write a review.
Oh, that's great.
And
Hope you
so
guys are taking
that's
notes on that one
key.
too.
And I would highly recommend that to anyone who wants to go ahead and do that. Whatever form, doesn't matter, the interview, however you're being interviewed, however it's being broadcast, just make sure that the people who are listening are able to receive that free sneak peek
Oh,
with the
very
link
cool.
to the review.
Nice. And then, so how from that point do we get to an actual book launch? And truthfully, mm, I want to say, how did you decide that going? And I don't know what the book launch or the book tour looks like in terms of location, speaking, and all that. But how did you come up with that?
So I am extremely blessed and grateful to the many people in my life. How I ended up here at Columbia is through a colleague of mine. Her name is Amanda Bergner. She just happens to be the program director for the genetic counseling program here at Columbia. She and I have been doing some anti-racism work. We co-founded with 2 other women,
quadra-founded, but we founded together the Intra-Professional Anti-Racism Discussion and Discourse Series, or IPADS, as we like to call it. And so she and I have created a very good relationship. We all support each other in all the different things that we do. And so when she found out that I was writing a book, she's like, "Oh my God, you're going to have a book tour. You're going to tour the country." And I was like, I guess.
Oh, wow.
It's one of those things when someone believes in you more than you believe in
You see
yourself,
it
or
for
maybe even
yourself. Yeah.
sees you in a place that you didn't necessarily see yourself in the beginning. And so she said that, but to be honest, I didn't even take her up on it for quite some time. I just thought like, oh, that'd be nice, right? Like that's a great idea.
Wow.
And then there are some things in my life that occurred where you always meet challenges, you always meet resistance. And I would say I got a significant amount of resistance from some people who were upset about my title more so than what my book talks about. And it just kind of gave me this gumption, like, you know what? Yeah. Are you still open to doing that, Amanda? Because can we make that happen? Like, let's do that. And so it was that little seed and encouragement planted that got us to where we are now. And what's been amazing is that now I'm like, no, what does this look like? Where else do I want to be? My parents live in South Florida. And you guys probably remember Brandon and Ramon from Positivity Pays. They work with a lot of authors, a lot of entrepreneurs. And so I sat down with them and I was like, I mean, if you guys remember that episode, one of the things Ramon kept saying is like, why are you doing anything by yourself? Why? And so literally after we interviewed them, they were like, why are you doing this by yourself? Of course, ask us how you can do a tour here in South Florida. So we set up a time and we like met up and talked about like, who are the people that I should meet with? Who are the people I should talk to in order to make that happen? And then finally, I got introduced to their publicist, Frankie. Shout out to Frankie when she watches this. And one day we're going to get Frankie on. She's like scheduling herself sometime in April.
I love
it. But Frankie is amazing at what she does. And one of the things, this to me, I've never been aware of this because I just don't know this side of like doing business in this way. But she was like, Janelle, we need to create like a package for you, right? So that way, when we go to the African American Research Library in Broward County, we tell them like, hey, this author, would you like to have this author come speak at your library? And they're like, who's this? Like, if they don't know you. And then like, it's like a press kit essentially. And it's like a one place you go to, it's like a landing page, you click on a link and it basically says my bio, different workshops I can offer, what people will get out of them, what talking about the book would be like, all of these things. So it's right there. So people get all of those things. And so like having that, like a press kit, never even thought of that. Yeah. But the fact that she was willing to work with me to create that, so that way we can essentially pitch it. It's almost like I didn't think of like it in that way because Amanda has been so gracious to like offer her space and her people and her time and her network. But I didn't think what is this going to look like on the other side when I start going to places now, right? And saying like, hey, no, like I want to, I want to be there. And so this has completely opened my eyes. And I'm like, yeah, this is more than possible because I'm going to have the press kit. I'm going to have all of this experience behind me. So that way, when I go to the next place, I can say, yeah, I've done these two in the past and I can do even this. I found, like I figured I could do one other thing, right? Like this is one other thing that your audience would get access to or would be able to get value from, right? Like, so the goal is South Florida. And then in the summer, I want to go to the West Coast. So California, I was thinking like the Bay Area because I have a significant number of people over there. And then in the fall in Chicago. Shout out to all of the genetic counselors across the country. If any of you are watching this, our national conference is happening in Chicago in October. So I was like, perfect. So then I'll just get out there around that time and do it then.
Okay. So I'm going to throw up your social media and everything so people can connect with you to get the information for those tour dates when that comes up. And I would love for you, let me throw that up while I'm saying it now. So guys, if you want to connect with Janelle, there's her Insta. I know she's also on Hollywood, another social media app, actually geared in a sense more towards entrepreneurs. So we'll get that up in another time. But you can definitely still connect with her at her Instagram at Janelle Villiers. underscore Villy, excuse me. So I want to make sure that you guys can see that there. There's the book tour post for today. Again, there's still time, I believe, or actually no, the tickets, did that close out, Janelle?
Yeah, they closed yesterday.
For today? Okay. So then obviously you guys know nothing for today in terms of being able to get in, but for everybody who else got their tickets, can't wait to see you guys. And I also want to make sure that I throw up, and I know I have it here, your link tree, because I believe you can actually go right there and
There it is.
be well with Janelle. And guys, make sure it's be well with Janelle underscore. I actually did this yesterday, and there's another be well with Janelle, which when you see her, it is not Janelle Villiers, the one that we know and love. It is another
Random person.
Janelle. Yeah, I know. It was actually really interesting yesterday. So I found that. And the landing page for that is going to look like this. So you'll see Janelle's picture right there, book tour launch, and buy my book, her interviews, and another link to our Say That channel. All right. So guys, make sure that you guys take that information down. And we only have a couple more minutes with Janelle. And so something that you touched on, which it actually made me think of Alexander when we had him on, and he talked about there essentially being, I'm paraphrasing, but it's essentially the same as saying they're like levels to this. So there's like a press kit, there's things that you're putting out that takes maybe your passion project to a professional level. And so if we had about 3 minutes left. If there's, and like she said, we are going to have our publication company out there to help others. But as we're on with people right now, and maybe to put if there's one thing you'd say, the book is out, what is the one or three things, I don't want to limit you, that you would say if people had to make a list of things they needed to do with the new knowledge you have, press kits, all these other things, what would you say are the three things somebody should do? And the book is, they've already written the book, and let's just say they've gotten through that publishing stage. It's already published by someone. So what are the three things that someone should do?
The now what?
There we go.
So I would say number one, create a goal. You need to know what you want to do. Do you want to just get 10,000 books sold? Do you want to only be on podcast, radio, and that kind of media? Do you want to tour? That may not be your thing, right? Like if you have a family and all that, touring the country may not be your thing. So figure out exactly what you want to do. That's number one, because without a target, your arrow is just going to go anywhere, right? So figure out exactly what you want, and then the next thing I would say is, if you want to get on podcasts and interviews and things like that, certainly reach out to your network first. But it's okay to reach out to the actual people who do the podcasts and do the interviews. You don't get discouraged if you don't hear from them right away. But I would say definitely directly contact them. And go to the podcasts that you listen to. Go to those places first, because they would probably want, like if you like what they have to offer, then what you have to offer would probably suit their audience as well. And then the third thing is probably the biggest lesson I've learned is like understanding what a press kit is and what that would look like. Because no matter if you're doing an interview or if you're doing a book tour, you're going to need that. You're going to need a synthesized one place where people can go and just get all the highlights of what you wrote and what you would like to talk to people about.
So wait a minute. Even if I don't want to tour and everything else, you still feel
if you want to interview, because how are you going to get the 10,000 sales? You got to get more people to know about your book. So even if you just want to do interviews from your home, right? So you do podcasts, radio shows, but like it's from your home, you're not going across the country. I would still say get a press kit, because when you do reach out to those people directly and they say like, oh, well, okay, that's certainly, like, tell me more. You can say, oh, here, go to my press kit or go to my landing page so people can see that. So I would definitely recommend it, whether you're doing the physical tour or if you're going to be in one place virtually interviewing.
Okay, perfect. How does someone do that? Like, would you recommend also finding, because I know you had a publicist help you. is there free information on how to set up a press kit?
Sure. Sorry. And I just want you to know that number 3 should say press kit, not press up.
Oh, thank you. That's the
No
that's the
problem.
personal trainer
But
right there. My bad.
just don't want to confuse people.
No. Press kit.
Is there a place? Yeah, YouTube University really isn't bad. There is somebody on YouTube who is explaining everything. It's just a matter of finding the time and be prepared to fail. Like, you're not going to get it right the first time. It's not going to be perfect the first time. So just be prepared to, your learning process is going to be in reality. You're not learning like in a classroom. The way you learn is like by actually doing it. So learn what you can from YouTube University and then go put it in practice. And then that's how you figure out like what really works for you.
Very cool. Thank you so much. And we have one other question. Any upcoming books in the work?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that, Jeannie, actually. So yes, I am currently recording the audiobook. I've gotten several people request that I do an audiobook. Even like, wait, so you have a book and an ebook, but you don't have an audiobook? Like, almost like this is like what people expect nowadays. So anyway, I'm currently working on that. And I believe that should be out in the next 2 to 4 weeks. So look out for that. I will have the link up for the audiobook out. I'm really excited about that because I also do audiobooks. So I know what it's like to like listen while you cook or listen while you jog or walk or drive the car, right? So
very cool. And then if there's any other information, do you have any other tour set up or location set up that people can get access to, or maybe early information about, or even the dates for the next location?
Sorry, I'm just thinking. I don't want to tell people the wrong dates, but it's like the middle of March.
Okay, no worries. We can talk about another episode then.
Another episode.
But in March.
But it'll be
in March.
Sorry, I have it. It'll be between March 13th and March 17th. March 18th. March 13th and March 18th.
And is that one of the Florida ones,
That's
or are
the
you
South
here?
Florida one.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very cool, very cool. So, South Florida, Janelle will be coming to you guys very, very, very soon.
I want to go back to the sunshine.
And for anybody else, I believe we are going to be doing some live streaming on the Say That channel Instagram page today of Janelle's book tour here at Columbia. So if you are not already following us on Instagram, you can go check us out at saythat_channel, and you guys will see a little bit of Janelle actually doing her Q&A at her book tour today at Columbia. And thank you so much for being on with us here, Janelle. Guys, drop some love in the chat. This is such a huge thing. I mean, I can definitely tell you when we started this channel, publications, books, none of that stuff was ever even, I know none of us had even, neither one of us had ever discussed doing any of that stuff. And to see where we've come in such a short period of time, it's definitely been very remarkable. So we just want to leave you guys to know that you guys can definitely go out there and achieve your dreams, or maybe even things you don't even know you have as a dream. You can still go out there and add value to others' lives. So we'll end it with, as always, remember,
you deserve the good life. Say that.
All right, later, you guys.